Solar flash update, May 7th, 8th, and 9th, 2023. The solar system, all of the planets in our solar system are shifting to a higher plane. Hi, this is Mahadev the Thunder Wizard. Welcome to the thunderwizard.com YouTube channel, where I give you practical tools to help you shift to a higher plane and to have a healthier, happier, more prosperous life. So, if you've been following my channel, you know that I am obsessed with this thing called the solar flash. Solar flash event, ascension event, is said to be an event where the sun will release very high vibrational energies which will penetrate into the earth and will shift all life on earth up to the next level. This is a dimensional shift. This is a evolutionary shift. As you know, evolution doesn't happen gradually. In the archaeological record, there's like one day there's dinosaurs, next day there aren't. One day there's certain species of animal, and the next day there's not. And one day there isn't a certain species, and the next day there is. And so what science is finding out, as it turns out, is that with these evolutionary events, there also happens to be increased radiation from the sun hitting the earth. And so I, as you know, have been getting information from higher dimensions telling me that this event is already happening. So it's not a solar flash, it's not an instantaneous thing. At least based on the information that I have and my experience. It is a gradual event. Don't get me wrong, it happens very quickly. But it could be a matter of months or years while this solar wave event. Again, very quickly, the higher dimensional beings came to me one day and told me that there was going to be an event that would be worldwide that people would see in the sky. And I talk about the specific dream that I had, but the point is that everybody on the planet will see it in the sky. They will feel the intense spiritual energy of it. They will believe that God is coming, or the second coming of Jesus, and then they will realize, no, this is something different. And at that point, the awareness of all people on the planet will shift up to a higher level, and everything will change. Everything that you can imagine will completely change. So, I first became aware of this happening on the 2nd of December. I was again told, my friends told me, my higher dimensional friends told me that this is the day that it's beginning. And there was a big celebration. It was a huge celebration in the cosmos from higher dimensional beings because the solar wave event had begun. And I do remember that day that there was a solar storm that hit the earth, and I remember feeling it and experiencing it. I had a bunch of other things happen in meditation, which maybe we'll talk about another time. And then as we went into the new year in March, if you remember, I think it was the first full moon of March, a lot of energy started hitting us, and my higher dimensional friends said, this is it. No turning back. And from then on, the solar storms have been increasing. As you know, we're in what is called a solar maximum, where the sun is shifting, the electromagnetic poles in the sun is shifting, and so there's a lot of solar radiation. Now, what is interesting to know, we've been focused on the solar radiation that hits the earth, and the reason why I chose this photograph, it's not a photograph, sorry. The reason why I chose this picture for my thumbnail is because I started thinking recently about, well, what about all the other planets? Because as I started looking at the what's going on with the sun. I'm checking every day, like checking the weather. I'm checking to see what's happening with the sun. Is there going to be a solar event? Because I know that if solar radiation hits the Earth, I know that I'm gonna shift up, another level. Like that's what's been happening to me every time that there's been a solar storm. And so as it turns out, there is a series of storms that should be hitting the Earth right about now. Where I'm at in Australia, it's 8 o'clock in the evening on the 8th, which means it's the 7th, or today was the 7th in the other half of the world. And so there was a series of solar storms, and there is a coronal mass ejection where the sun releases a huge amount of plasma that heads towards the Earth, and then it hits the Earth's magnetic field and it wraps around, and then it bounces off the moon, especially when you got a full moon like this, bounces off the moon, and that's when there's a lot of energy that hits the Earth. And this is when we've been having unprecedented amounts of northern and southern lights. The aurora borealis has been hitting. I mean, I can't remember a time in my lifetime, maybe it happened and I wasn't aware of it, but I can't remember ever hearing about the aurora borealis going as far south as New Mexico twice in 1 month. And it's been happening regularly over even farther north. So I feel it every time it comes, and every time it comes, what I feel, and I started feeling it today. I woke up today and I started feeling I started feeling anxiety. And what happens when you have anxiety from these solar storms is that your brain starts to look for a reason. That's the interesting thing about the brain, is that the intellect looks for reasons to justify things that are going on. So if your brain can't figure out what's happening, it'll make something up. Just to give you an example, I heard this from a student that I had probably 15 years ago. And he told me that there were some experiments to find out, where the mind is and things like that. And in this particular one, the corpus callosum had been separated. In case you don't know what that is, you have two halves of your brain. You have a left side of your brain and a right side of your brain. You have a masculine and feminine side of your brain, and there's this tiny bundle of nerves and tissue that connect the two halves, so that the two sides, your intellectual side and your emotional side, they can communicate with each other. But sometimes that corpus callosum is broken. By the way, this is why women have the ability to do things men can't do. Women are able to multitask very well. They can be, rocking the baby, and they can be, making breakfast while talking on the phone, and, deciding, what to get at the store later. Sorry if that sounds sexist. I'm just coming up with an example. But women are known to have the ability to multitask far better than men. Men, however, have a better ability at focusing on one task and doing that very well. I'm one of those guys. If something's going on, I say, quiet, I'm trying to type. I can't do two things at once. I can't talk and chew gum at the same time. So in that experiment, the corpus callosum of certain people was broken. So what they would do is they would whisper into one ear, and they would say, "Get up and walk across the room." And people would get up and walk across the room and sit in another chair, and then they would ask the other side of the brain, "Why did you just walk across the room?" And they would say, "Because I needed to get a pencil." The brain will come up with some excuse, and you believe it. So when these solar storms hit, my experience is the first thing that happens is I get anxiety. And so because right now I'm not quite sure where I'm going to end up living. I'm trying to find ways to stay here on Australia, but it's extremely difficult. Their visa laws are very difficult to get through. So I started flipping out about that, even though right now at this moment for the next couple of months I'm going to be fine. But I started flipping out about that. And then I started feeling really bad about myself, and I started having all these negative feelings. And sure enough, I looked online and saw that there's massive solar storms that are just starting to hit the Earth. So I went, oh, I know what this means. This means that the radiation that's hitting me is shifting me to a higher dimensional state. And so what ends up happening is my third dimensional mind, my third dimensional brain, my third dimensional body, and all of my unconscious programming in the third dimension. I've been around here, a long time. I got a lot of third dimensional programming. That stuff kicks in because it can feel that it's starting to die. My third dimensional self, every time that I have an interaction with higher dimensional energy, I die a little bit more in the third dimension. The good news is I wake up a little bit more in a higher dimension. So perhaps you're like me, where you feel like you're split and you're in two different worlds. That is definitely, I felt like that most of my life, but I really feel like that now. So now that I know what's going on, that there's just this higher dimensional solar energy hitting me, I'm relaxing into it. I'm doing what I teach you guys to do. I'm relaxing into it, breathing into it, focusing on what I want to create in the new reality. Those are the kinds of things that I do, and I recommend you do when this solar energy hits. So we focus on what's happening to us. But what happens is that the sun isn't just sending higher dimensional energy to Earth. The majority of the energy is getting sent to all of the other planets. And here's something that I realized. What I've come to realize, going back almost a year, I can't believe it's already been almost a year, but going back almost a year, after what I talk about in my book, Interdimensional Revolution and Extraterrestrials Are Coming to Earth, which I recommend you get. Go to michaelwilliamdenny.com. You can see all my books. I recommend you read those books. Or listen to me read them for you. But what happened after I first had my interdimensional experience with a higher dimensional being, like a conscious experience with an extraterrestrial higher dimensional being. What started happening was stuff that was crazier than anything I've ever seen in any sci-fi movie. And one day I was at home, because what would happen, sometimes I would go reach out to them in meditation, and they would come and visit and interact with me in the interdimensional space. But sometimes they would just show up. And this happened one day. And as I was lying on the couch watching Netflix or whatever I was doing, one of these higher dimensional beings showed up and said, "Go outside. I want to show you something." And so I got up and I went outside, and I kid you not, the moon was talking to me. It wasn't a voice. It wasn't even the kind of telepathic communication that higher dimensional beings do. But the moon was communicating to me. And the energy, and I could feel the energy of the communication coming from the moon. I was like, whoa. And I'm like, am I imagining? So I communicated back. I don't remember what I said. I may have asked a question. I got a response. And that went back and forth for a while. And then I looked over at, I don't remember, something else, the trees, stars. I was communicating with all of these beings that weren't flesh and blood beings walking around on Earth. It wasn't like I was talking to my cat. It wasn't even like I was just talking to the trees. I was talking to stars and planets. And that completely changed my understanding about the universe that we live in. Now, again, you've been on my channel. I'm going to repeat myself, but it bears repeating. In 2012, what the Mayan prophecy said was not that the world was going to come to an end, but that the world, that the old world would end and a new one would begin. And it also said that our planet and our sun would go through a wormhole and come out somewhere else. It would go through a black hole in the center of the galaxy and come out somewhere else. And all you have to do is go Google Mandela effect Sagittarius arm Milky Way galaxy. If you haven't heard about this, go Google it. It's a real thing. The Earth has moved 73,000 miles, 73,000 light years to the other side of the Milky Way galaxy. Not only that, but as you know, when you look up in the sky, guess what? All of the other planets have come with us, as well as all of the other stars in the zodiac. We still have we have all of that. What does that mean? Here's what I've come to understand. That the solar system is not a haphazard collection of dust and gas. Our solar system is a living being. It is a unit. Or you could say it is a community of beings that have gravity that holds it together. But what is gravity? It's nothing more than a karmic bond. The reason why you fall in love, it's a karmic bond. Truth of the matter is we don't feel it because, the gravity of the earth is much stronger. But when you're standing next to another person, the gravitational fields of each of your mass is pulling you together. But it's negligible in comparison to the gravity of the earth that's pulling you down, so you don't notice it as much. So what's holding the solar system together is a karmic bond. Now, to make it even more amazing, as you've heard me talk about before, when you take a look at the chakras here, you see that little meditator there, and all of his chakras are lit up. Each one of his chakras is associated with a planet. The heart is associated with 2 of the visible planets. We have more than 7 chakras, by the way. So if we take, all 12 of the chakras, the 7, major chakras and the rest, we end up with the same amount of planets, if we take into account things like the north and south nodes of the moon and things like that. So what is this human that has all of these chakras that are associated with planets? We are a microcosm of what? The solar system. Now, you can't say to this guy that, his throat chakra is really not connected to his third eye chakra. They're just sort of randomly put there. He's going to say, no, you don't understand how this works. These chakras are put here in a specific order because the energy of consciousness, the higher dimensional energy of consciousness, which is called Kundalini, rises up through these chakras and awakens my awareness into other realms of conscious maturity. And I mature as a soul. I've come here into this body which has these 7 chakras so that my soul and higher dimensional energy, which we call Kundalini, will work together to help me learn and grow and become more mature so that when I leave this body, I will be an even brighter, more spiritually evolved, conscious being. So when I realized that, looking at this, just recently coming to once again understand that the planets are associated with the chakras, and then you look at your astrological chart and you see that all of the planets are what? They're having an effect on different chakras. And so the lessons of the planets in your astrological chart are for instance, let's say you have an issue with the moon. Let's say your moon is not as strong as it could be. So you do meditations and work to open up your intuition, to open up your compassion, to open up your ability to reflect the spirit, which is what the moon does. And then what ends up happening is that your heart chakra, as you can see here, the moon is associated with the heart. Your heart chakra will mature. People say the chakra opens. Well, it's maturing. What does that mean? If that's happening internally with the chakras and the planets, and if your astrological chart is telling you that different planets, light, I don't know however many thousands and millions of miles away they are from you, these forces in the solar system are having a profound effect on your ability to work through your issues to become more conscious. What does that mean? It means that the solar system is a macrocosm of you. And all of these chakras work together. They don't work by themselves. So all of these planets are working together. Now, at the center of those planets is this huge ball of what we perceive as boiling gas and plasma and radiation, sending out its light and its heat and its radiation to all of the planets. Now, I just learned this recently, because I'm looking for, wanting to know more about these solar events. And I came to find out that, our planet has an electromagnetic field. The sun has an electromagnetic field. Other planets, I don't know if all of them do, but for instance, Jupiter has a huge magnetic field. It has the biggest magnetic field in the solar system, second only to the sun. And that tells you, the ancients knew how powerful Jupiter was. That's why the planet Jupiter, even the Greeks and the Romans said Jupiter was the king of the gods, that Jupiter was the wielder of the lightning bolt. As it turns out, there's so much electromagnetic energy in Jupiter that, if I remember correctly, lightning bolts can shoot from Jupiter to its moons. It has lightning on it that's like 1,000 times more intense than any lightning we have here on Earth. Now, how did the Greeks and the Romans know that? How did the Vedics know that? How did our ancestors know this stuff? Because we have a spirit, and these beings are conscious. All of the myths that you hear about all of these gods and this isn't stuff that people have made up. Some of it is. Some religions, like the one I don't like. Some religions is a bunch of made up garbage, but true shamans get their information directly from these beings. Now that I've had some experiences where I've interacted directly with planets, I'm like, yeah, I'm sure my ancestors had those same kinds of experiences. So I'm not expressing what I want, but what's happening is the solar wave event isn't just for Earth. It's for the whole solar system. But here's the kicker. The entire solar system has one main purpose. I mean, I'm sure each planet, because they're conscious beings, they have their own purposes as well. And they have their own lives. And there's a lot of other things going on, I'm sure. But I'm going to say the main purpose for the solar system is to be the caretakers and the teachers and the empowerers of who? Human beings. So, in a sense, we are the center of the solar system, even though, things don't revolve around Earth. Revolves around what? The sun. The sun, if the sun is sending higher vibrational energy directly to the Earth so that human beings can shift up to what we're calling 5D. Well, we have these things called chakras. So guess what? The planets are going to come with us. So the sun is sending out energy to all of the planets. And not only do we have an electromagnetic field, I was going to say, but there's an interplanetary electromagnetic field where the magnetic fields of different planets come together and merge. And that ends up coming back to Earth as well. The sun brings a lot of electromagnetic energy from Jupiter, for instance. That stuff will end up coming into our atmosphere as well. So I hope you can grasp this, that if we can completely shift our understanding from this idea that we live on this rock and somewhere out of nowhere life showed up on these, these little things that turned into monkeys and then walked around on two legs and started driving cars around. And then we live in this empty universe with a bunch of gas and rocks and dust flying around. Instead of looking at it like that, understand that we have a third dimensional viewpoint where that's what we see. But what's really going on is all of these planets, all of these in our solar system. The solar system itself is a unit with the sun at the center. Now, there's so much stuff I want to share with you. One of them is I just came to understand that scientists have discovered that there's not only just black holes, but there are white holes. One of my teachers talked about that, said, yeah, and there's also white holes. And science hadn't come up with that, but he came up with that, where instead of things falling into it, energy's coming out. Well, I'm here to tell you that this is what stars are. This is what the sun is. The sun is a portal to higher dimensional planes of existence. Science has already said, physics will already tell you that the light that we have in our third dimension is actually coming from the fifth dimension. So the sun is the source of light for us in our solar system. But that light is coming from a higher dimension. So that means that the sun is providing higher dimensional spiritual energy to all of the planets in the solar system. And all of the planets in the solar system are using their energies to affect your different chakras. So the reason for the sun being here and all the planets is so that you can evolve. So think about that, if you will. The sun is sending out energy to all of the planets so that they can evolve, and as they evolve, we evolve. They are here to help us. The planets are higher dimensional beings. As I've said before, when anything from the fifth dimension or above even pokes its head into the third dimension, it will manifest as a sphere. And what are the planets? Spheres. The planets are higher dimensional beings. That's why our ancestors worship them as gods, rightly so. Because these gods aren't here just to be worshipped. We worship them because they will guide us towards our evolution. But they're actually here to serve us. They're here to create within you. I want you to think about this. All of these extremely powerful higher dimensional beings, which we experience as planets, have manifested into the third dimension so that the consciousness of the universe could create a higher dimensional being, eventually, which will be human beings. Human beings are destined to be extremely powerful, conscious beings. We are in our infancy. Human beings, modern human beings, are only 100,000 years old. These beings that have been visiting us are millions, billions of years old. So we are headed to be them. So that means that all of these beings came together and you were one of them, by the way. These beings have come together over the millions and billions of years, and they have crafted a new body with which higher dimensional energy can manifest and grow and evolve. That's why your body has 7 chakras. There are 7 visible planets. That's why your body has a yin and a yang, a right and a left, 2 halves of the brain. That's why your body has all of these energy meridians that can't be seen but can be empowered with energy. That's why the human body can handle Kundalini, which is 5th dimensional consciousness, Chi, which is life force energy in the 3rd dimension, and the lightning power of the heart. That is a tremendous amount of energy that can be flowing through the human body. And all of this energy has a huge impact on your consciousness. We are a creation of, that the whole universe has come together. One thing that, the Abrahamic Bible got right, because the original source of that was polytheism, the native polytheism of the Levant. And the word that now we translate as, God created or God spoke or, God said, those original words in Genesis is the beings of light. The beings of light said, let us go down. The beings of light said, let us create this, let us do that. The beings of light said, let us make man in our image. Our image. So, but you were one of those beings. You were one of those beings that said, let's create a new physical body that we can inhabit and begin to learn and grow. So we've gone through the difficult stages, and as you know, there's a big shift coming, and I won't get into what all that may mean. But definitely what's happening now, the sun has decided it's going to send out higher dimensional energy to all of the planets, because if human beings evolve, the rest of the planets have to evolve, because what's going to happen? We're going to lose, if let's say, Mercury doesn't evolve, are we going to lose our throat chakra? No, all of the planets are coming with us. So, I might have, overstated it here. I don't know that I got across the feeling that I wanted, but meditate on that. And for the next 2 or 3 days, we're going to be hit with higher dimensional energy. And so I strongly recommend that you do whatever spiritual practice you have. If you find yourself feeling anxious, fearful, sad, cranky, and you can't put your finger on it, it's probably because the energy is vibrating at such a level that your 3rd dimensional self is having a hard time. So breathe and relax into it. Allow yourself to be completely loved. Mourn the pain. If any sadness or pain comes up, mourn. Talk to somebody. Talk to a counselor. Talk to a friend. Talk to a mentor. Talk to a teacher. And be there to help others. And in your meditations, if you're not already doing interdimensional meditation, go check it out. Do CE5. Connect directly with higher dimensional beings. They will help you evolve extremely quickly. And also imagine your perfect reality, the perfect reality that you want to live in. Don't hold back, just your perfect heaven of unicorns and Skittles falling off of the tree and, candy, cotton candy, I don't know, snowflakes, I don't care. Whatever it is that gives you the greatest joy. I know I'm going to be imagining perfect waves and perfect beaches and, no government, no taxes, none of that garbage. So imagine your perfect reality, because this energy, when this energy comes, your intentions is where you're going to end up. What you imagine is where you're going to end up. Okay? So don't let the negativity bring you down. Let it help you to let go of your 3rd dimensional fear and rise up. All right, I've babbled enough. That's it. You guys know the drill. All of these things are here. The Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong. Subscribe if you want the most powerful energy practice on earth. Courses.thunderwizard.com. All of my services and all of my teachings. Interdimensional Revolution and Extraterrestrials Are Coming to Earth. You can get at Amazon, Kindle, and Audible. And you can also hear me talk about other subjects that I don't talk about here on YouTube. You can go to thunderwizard.com on Rumble. And of course, the Interdimensional Meditation course, which you get when you subscribe to the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong. That's it for me, my friends. I wish you all the best. I will be back hopefully tomorrow with a live stream. All right. Take care.